Good morning, everybody. This week we've got a lot to review. A lot of progress has been made as we are wrapping up all the features we need to get out of early access and to get onto that full release. Um, so one big news item this week is I actually announced that I am together with a couple of other people from the community, Reap Blue and Andy90. We're working on an actual game. This is the same team that made the first person shooter example. And we had such a great time with that, and we learned so much that we thought, well, Ultra is this is a very powerful engine. There's a lot of cool stuff we can do with this, and maybe we should make a full game. We don't have any other information available at this time, um, but I think it's going to be a very cool experience. And at first, I was worried that it would take a lot of time. It's like, no way can I make a game engine and a game itself, but it's actually not. Like I when I'm game programming is actually like super easy, especially when you wrote the engine yourself and you know exactly how everything works. So it's a lot of fun, and already like a lot of the features that I've added recently were as a result of that. This I just realized that they were needed. So like the mesh reduction tools, the built-in UV unwrapping. I made some improvements earlier this month, or like earlier a couple weeks ago, to the pathfinding system. I made some big improvements to that, and all of that just came about as a result of using my own engine, eating my own dog food, and making a game. So now I am also a game developer, and I think this will give me a better understanding of your needs. So last week, a lot of stuff got done. I added some parsing, some code that automatically parses Lua and C++ files to generate the component definition files. Now, the component definition files are what the editor reads so that it knows what properties to display in the editor, and also what the inputs and outputs in the flow graph system are. So having that all automatically generated from the code is very convenient. Um, I added the volumetric lighting post-processing effect that Klepto2 wrote. I'm not sure if he wrote the first version or if I wrote the first version and then he made it way better. But I think we passed that back and forth several times. But the finished version is available now, and it looks fantastic. So thank you again to Klepto2. Can we get a golf clap for Klepto2? Yep. Uh,
Yeah, and with the lights, you can now adjust how intense the effect is, which is really helpful because you don't want every light in your scene to have volumetric lighting.
oh yeah,
But
yeah. So the light alpha will control how strong the volumetric effect is. We have better support for custom shader families now. Um, the water shader, the water material, is added. And this is very cool because it allows you to just put water any in Leadworks. You could just put a big flat plane of water, but now you can put a volume of water anywhere, and there's an add buoyancy force command. So I'll probably turn this into like a water volume component type thing, but the PBR reflection system is actually good enough that we used that, and it looks fantastic. The technique is it's basically the same technique that Leadworks 4 used. I just like upsampled it and made it way better, and the light reacts to the water reacts to lighting now on the surface. So here's a screenshot of it. Just a second. Yeah, you can see the specular reflection in the surface, and everything's just higher resolution, and it turned out really good. Um, I totally revised the texture editor. So before it was quite slow when you were opening a big texture, but now it's like instantaneous, and it's got some extra tools in there that are extremely useful. At the same time, I added the dynamic texture clamp and filtering settings, which this is a little bit of a challenge because we use a lot of bindless textures. And so I had to like go back. I had to write some special code for handling that, but everything's fine. I added GUI tooltips in the editor. I know that's something some people wanted. Some people who make big videos wanted that. And then I also, at the last, just yesterday, I got in the initial implementation of the screenshot rendering tool. It also supports publishing to the Steam community page. And I also added in the Steam build, added the video publishing like Leadworks 4 had. Um, so that's pretty much everything that needs to be done except for okay, there were some interface improvements. I added some icons in the menus just to make it a little bit more colorful. The pop-up preview, this is what I always planned on from the beginning. I wanted to be able to display a lot of information about the item without actually having to open it. So this information gets stored in the accompanying meta file, which is just a JSON file. And then I just added the little line on the right, the horizontal line, and the orange text, and it just like, yeah, I think it looks really good. And then overall, the whole editor, it's still dark gray, but it's got a little bit of a blue tint, just because like solid solid grayscale gray tends to look red. If you make it a little bit tinted blue, it looks a little bit more natural. And people said that they liked the this light blue tint. We'll probably have customizable color schemes in the future, but I think this is a good default. So the only feature that needs to be done before the full release is I want to revise the 2D drawing system, which I'll start. That'll be the next thing I start on. I need to finalize the default. Well, the color scheme is pretty much final. The icons are not. Some of them are going to be replaced still. The undo redo system needs to be completed, but that's more of a bug kind of thing. The documentation and tutorials need to be finalized, and then just a lot of bug fixes, and that's it. That's all we need for the full release. Lots of progress. Didn't think that was going to go that fast, but that went really well. Now's a good time to take a moment to thank everyone who left a review for Ultra Engine Pro or Ultra Engine Standard on Steam. T-Tiki, Drogowit, The Cuzzy, Cap Crunch, Metal OS, Eknologia, Knievels, Ricochet, Andy, Gashish Master, Marcy 3D, Gamer, Saru71, Mazel, Timmy! You, Plisa, Gravitate Games, Lilybite, Wreckage, Techno Fox, Casmic, Doctor Who 3DGX, JD Gaming, Reap Blue, Anthony _ Python, CZX18888, Edelan Trick, Merrick IJC, Kent, Old Amsterdam, Drake Black, Merrick, Project Mayhem, Pedrito, James W. Harden, Troyanator, _altitude 3 _ Lucky Luke, Slick29, Gavaris 3, Waxy, and Renha. Yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate you taking the time to add your upvote on Steam. It really helps a lot. Okay, anything about all of that?
Easy crowd.
Yeah, actually, if you do the if you rework the 2D drawing, do you also make it possible that you can, yeah, get a pix map from a texture?
You can get a Pixmax map from a texture if you load the texture with There's a flag that's like load mip maps. By
Mm.
default, the system does not keep texture pixel data in system memory because it would just require too much It would just be it would take up a huge amount of system of RAM for no reason. When you don't actually usually you don't need that in system memory. It just goes straight to video memory.
Yeah, it's because if you want to render on a texture, for example, something, then you could set it as a background for a panel
Yeah,
or widget panel.
there's a capture there's a command to capture on the frame buffer or texture, or you can use it with a texture buffer. There's a command to capture a screenshot basically from that. Um, but you don't actually even need to do that. I mean, if you want to render something and then render to a texture and then use it for the background of something else, you can just use the texture. Just start using the texture. You can retrieve the color attachment from the texture buffer and then just apply it to a material and it'll work. You don't even have to bring it back into a pix map.
And how can I set this then for the into the widget, for example, as a background for a panel?
I believe for this specific purpose, there's a set texture command you can use with the widget.
Oh, okay. I have to check this.
Yeah. Because I used the capture basically it's a screenshot command. I used that to do the screenshot tool, but you don't even need to do that. You can just keep it as a texture.
Mhm. I will have a look at this.
Any other questions? Water. It's a nice default water. Klepto has some nice, very nice ocean water, but I think this is a good default for most cases.
Yeah, the only thing is that you need a post-processing effect to manage the underwater thing. Redbrooks had one, at least from Klepto, where if the camera was underwater, the fog increased and all that.
Oh yeah, I see that as being like a something in the buoyancy component, uh, the water volume component that I plan on adding. It can just add a post processing effect automatically when you're inside that volume.
Now, how will you manage that? Because the scene, you have to load the scene post processing effect, and then you have to add and remove that layer, and that layer has to consider all the other post processing effects.
I don't know yet. I'll figure it out.
You said to ask questions, so
Only way to do it is to just try.
I think we was writing about something like this, right? The first days with the post processing effect.
I'm honestly not a fan of the way that it's set up, because it's set up. It's not really for. It's kind of. It's more of like an. It's made for. It seems like it's made for artists, not for an actual game. And if I was doing in my game, I plan to do it differently. But the way, it's cool having like the customizable stack of effects that you can add on a per scene basis. But that's not how I would do it in the game. I think it's just something that's like kind of convenient. But I think it also potentially has some downsides. Anyways, like I said, I'll just I'm not gonna know until I really do it, and then the answer will just come to me. So we kind of touched on tutorials discussion a couple weeks ago. Yeah, this is January 26th, and I was saying I can do these, but like I need to figure out like what's the overall. I don't want it to just be like random questions. Like I need to have an overall plan of how to do this. And I asked people, and Thirsty Panther actually gave like the most really nice detailed answer. He says that he looked up a bunch of this stuff from an old thread and he can't take credit for it, but I still give him credit because he took the time to to actually figure this out. So you got your tutorials, and it's divided into the editor interface, and then the second major section is level design. A third major section is gameplay, and then I would say like the fourth major section should be programming.
I think the important parts are first and foremost, how to use the editor, how to import models and materials, and how to make particles and all that.
Do
I
we
think
need
that's more.
videos for this stuff?
I think you miss one part, which is also important for every good game, and it's the UI.
Well,
I'd put that in. Yeah, this is in gameplay HUD for gun sites.
I have a question about water material that
Mhm.
you have. Is there a way, because of the distinction of the water material, so that anything that's programmed that's in that material reacts according to, for example, swimming mode? The sequence would take place if a player jumps into that material, or if they dive in, the oxygen, where if they stay under the water too long, of course, you could program where they would expire. But is there anything, is it distinct enough where you can program when anything's in that, it reacts as water in the programming,
Uh,
in the script?
Basically, yeah, because you can add it to a brush, and brushes are volumetric, so you can tell if an object is inside that volume. No matter what the shape is, a brush will be able to detect that intersection, and then you can apply all those types of behaviors. Um,
Because in LeadWorks, I'm doing where it's below a certain level, which is the water level, it reacts as if it's swimming. And of course, if you stay under too long below that level, you actually expire at this point in LeadWorks, where this Ultra program, I'm just making sure if it goes in that body, regardless where I place it at what levels, uh, because I could have different levels of water
yep, yep,
in the same world and have it where you could be above water at one location, below water in another location.
exactly. So in Leadworks currently, you're just basing that test on height alone, because it's just a flat plane that goes into infinity. But with this system, it's like that, but in 3D. So you can tell there's an intersection test to see if you can tell if the object is inside that volume, inside that shape. But other than that, it's exactly the same. It's just a little bit more sophisticated. Um,
Thank, thank you, John.
mhm. Oh, okay. So, does this stuff need videos? Do I need to make a video for each of these things,
Uh,
or is this stuff that's just like an article that you write out?
If you make a video, they should be just examples where the person that's actually doing the creation of their game just takes the source of the material and make it their own according to how they want programmed in their own game.
Well, this is just. I mean, this is just a how to. Well, yeah, I did create a video for some of this stuff. It would be hard to do it. It would be hard to explain the probes without a video. Um, okay, so this is very straightforward stuff here, because this is just explaining every aspect of the interface. And honestly, like, you don't need a tutorial for most of this stuff, but because everybody just figures it out. But I'll do it anyways. Level design is more focused on creating the level in the world, and that's a nice way to break it up. Because this is mostly about preparing your content. I would actually put probes and decals down here in level design. So basically, the first section is like using everything except the level design tools, like getting textures and models into the engine. Second section is level design, so that's everything about creating your scene. Third section, this is where things get interesting. Um, This is what Leadworks is missing. Okay, so components, component properties, flow graph, how that relates to code. And then we get into this. And this is what I would like your guys' input on. Like everything that every gameplay aspect, I would like to make a component for each of these things and have them all be part of the default system and have the whole system work. So it's like a super game engine. So moving platforms and doors, hooking buttons up to open and close a door. That's a good way to extend that. Picking objects up, a HUD, health kit and health regeneration, refillable ammo, raycast for guns, projectiles, high score table, how to change maps, quest system, example, kill 10 rats. You guys love rats. Or you really hate them. I'm not sure. Simple inventory system, simple crafting system, teleport system, security camera with like render to texture, enemy spawning. I don't know. That's pretty vague. I don't know what that means really. Different sounds on different surfaces, gravity gun, jetpack, hand grenade, ladder climbing, weather effects, picking up a new weapon, NPC dialogue system, basic skill tree, swimming when in water, checkpoints, and a turret that shoots at the player.
Enemy spawning, that is the location that you place that would make the mob appear, and how long between the kill and the regeneration of the respawn would take place before that enemy would reappear.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of different things that can mean. I mean, does that mean it's infinite respawning, or does it mean that it's like some other kind of system? I think that needs. So, anyways, like
it would be like having an item, a respawn object placed at a location that no one sees, that's actually playing the game, but it's set there and programmed so that it respawns at that location of that type of mob, whatever it would be, and it would just start off from that point, being programmed in by that object being placed, and the user would actually set up the frequency and how often, and for example, maybe it can't respawn, but at night, if we have a 24-hour programmed in the game, where it only respawns at a certain time or a certain period, maybe a red moon, etc., for that object to be respawned. But that would be the object and programming the type of respawn that the user would want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this whole list of things, these are the kinds of things that, like each of these items for me, it's just like the challenge is just like, okay, I need to find the art, and then for the code, I just write the code, and I don't really think about it. Putting this all into one system is going to be a bit of a challenge, and I would like you guys to add your ideas, like everything you can think of, and if you find like some other system that has that you like the layout of the tutorials, it's okay just to send me a link to that so that I can get more ideas. But what I'm really trying to do is get an overall picture of every feature this super game has to have so that I can make something where it all works together, and so that I can, because I plan to spend quite a pretty good amount of time doing tutorials like this. I just don't want to do it twice. Like I don't want to go back and change it because there was some other thing that people wanted. So let's get everything that we think is good to include now. And then I'll go back and kind of pare the list down and decide what I think is most important.
I think a good idea would be breaking the engine into three sections. A server where the actual manager of the program actually controls the game, the client where they're on the outside playing the game, and has the client side where they control the character and the database interacts with what they receive, inventory, subtraction, and then of course the GUI, the display of everything in the world according to what everyone sees, but it would be broke down into three separate parts, which would make it easier to program that this is what the actual creator needs as far as the server. This is what the person needs as a client, and then, of course, what would be displayed according to the program that's being made.
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, so, any questions about any of that? Any other suggestions?
Yeah, hello.
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, congratulations on the progress. Well, indeed, from the first versions of this is a big step forward, and each new releases proves that Ultra is a good, unique thing, that can show its effectiveness in skilled hands. Um, just want to add a couple of comments on behalf of our team, if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, firstly, I just want to draw your attention to our list of bugs on the forum, because these bugs can seriously impact the developer experience right from the start of any research work. Right after the buying and during the first launch. The developer who using Ultra first time, he may not act as predictably as you are used to. And this is one of the main points that must be taken into account, so everything should work fine. Well, also, our team has a lot of outdoor levels with terrain, as you remember. And terrain things is still the Achilles heel of the Ultra Engine editor as for now, as far
What
as we
the
can.
import from Leadworks?
Um, uh, um, I have two different sides of testing with the porting of the resources from Leadworks, and when I just trying to launch clean project. And I had similar symptoms of bugs. So I sent a list of it on the forum. Um, so as far as we for now we just prototyping and developing game on Leadworks, yeah, in early access, but we're planning to port this game on Ultra when it's done, when the version 1.0 will be released. So if some reason we are unable to port the game, we will complete it on Leadworks. And for future projects, we plan to use Ultra anyway, leveraging its increased capabilities more efficiently, and creating a more precise roadmap as early as a pre-production stage.
And you got a fair amount of performance increase, I think you said, on the scene that you were testing. You imported a scene from Leadworks, and you got a better frame rate, right?
Yeah, I'm here now. I had no performance issues actually, except one when I'm firing a weapon on in Ultra. It causes micro freezes and severe performance drops until the shooting is finished.
It might be okay.
That's all for now. The performance is really good actually.
So what was the performance before with Leadworks 4? Well, I think you said it was like 40 frames per second,
yeah,
and it went up
yeah.
to what?
It's about 100 FPS right now on the same levels ported from the Lidwerks project.
Awesome. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so as long as so I'm not ignoring bug reports. Like, as long as there's a bug report, um, it will definitely get looked at before the final release. It's just like, this week was not my week to do bug reports. This week was my week to do all of this. But yeah, definitely, like, anything you guys find, just document it in the bug report forum, and it will definitely get looked at. I really appreciate your thoroughness. So yeah, it might not be, this was not the week to work on that, but it definitely will get worked on before the final release. And like I said, like, I mean, here's what's left to do. I mean, besides the 2D drawing system, that's the only code that I have to write, and then everything else is just, then I mean, I might spend like a solid month just doing bug reports, but however long it takes, I'm gonna go through everything. So yeah, even if you don't get a reply like right away, like, it definitely will get looked at if it's in the system. A lot of times, like, I just won't be working on bugs, and then I'll start working on bugs, and I'll go through and I'll get like 30 done in a week. So, and we don't actually have that many outstanding bug reports. It's less than 100. I think it was about 60 last time I checked a few weeks ago, and it's probably gone up, but it's still probably less than 100.
Don't be surprised, Josh, after you release 1.0.0, that people that's actually using the full version comes up with a whole bunch more bugs that wasn't identified during this preliminary.
It's
So you may
possible,
have,
but we have tested this pretty thoroughly, like a lot thoroughly than I'd say any other product I've ever done.
well, I'm just saying so that 1.0.1 or 1 point, and then identify the bugs that are fixed so that anything found after the actual official release it's showing a continued progress as identified by bugs.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, so I think so just keep this stuff in mind. This is really good feedback, but I want to have an entire plan for everything that I'm gonna write before I do this. And this isn't stuff I'm talking about, before 1.0. This is stuff I'm talking about, like, this is probably going to be like over the next 6 months or so. But yeah, any feedback you have on this kind of stuff is extremely helpful. So that's all I've got to discuss this week. Do you guys have anything else that you want to add before I stop the video?
Just that you're doing a terrific job creating such a super engine. I think people that runs into your engine will find it fully capable and probably enjoy to be programming in.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see. I'm going to stop.